Oh, I heard, oh, no.
Yes, 1, 2, 3.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, everyone. Calling to order the regular meeting of the Insurance Benefits and Legislative Committee for the Board of Retirement. It is Wednesday, August 2nd. Procedure for teleconference meeting.
This meeting is being conducted virtually and in person, so I will do a roll call of the trustees to confirm attendance. Mr. Knox,
Good morning, I'm here.
Mr. Santos,
Here.
Mr. Bernstein,
Here.
Mr. Sanchez, Mr. Green, Miss Greenwood, Mr. Kehoe. Trustees Robbins and Oakham will not be participating in today's meeting. Vice Chair Gray.
Thank you.
Trustee Harris here too.
I called you.
I didn't respond, so I get it.
Sorry.
You did. I'll now officially respond.
Staff participating in the meeting includes CEO Santos Kryman, Deputy CEO Louis Lugo, AEOs JJ Popowich and Laura Guglielmo, Chief Counsel Stephen Rice, Legislative Affairs Officer Barry Liu, from Retiree Healthcare, Cassandra Smith, Director, and Kathy Magida, consultants Stephen Murphy and Debbie Donaldson from Siegel. Trustees, please use the raise your hand option in Zoom to be placed in queue. At this time, we ask all meeting participants to mute your mics until you are ready to speak, and we may now proceed with the agenda.
Thank you. We are on item 3, approval of the minutes. And that's approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of July 6, 2020.
I'll go to move them.
In a motion.
Second.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 4, do we have any public comment?
We have nothing for public comment.
All right, thank you. All right, item 5, our reports. The engagement report, Mr. Barry Liu for Legislative Affairs.
Thank you. Good morning, Vice Chair Gray and trustees. Some items of interest this month for you. So the first one concerns the New Orleans Police Department. It's interesting in that the city has been experiencing a lot of attrition in its officers. They had about 1,600 before Hurricane Katrina, but now they're down to just a little over 900. And as a result, it's triggered a state law that considers the police retirement system partially dissolved. So then it's imposing fines on the retirement on the city to pay for unfunded liabilities. So unless they can restore their staffing to about 1,100 employees, they would be paying these fines because apparently the lower number of officers is causing issues with their unfunded liabilities. And then they also have other small towns in Louisiana that are also experiencing this issue. But because they have, many of this department have 5 or fewer officers, the loss of 1 or 2 can also trigger such a fine. The next item concerns Generation X and their approach to retirement from a report by the National Institute of Retirement Security. So, I think the baby boomers and the millennial generation have taken a lot of the oxygen in the room, but Generation X is in their prime working years right now, and they're looking down at retirement soon. So the generations defined as those born between 1965 and 1980. And some of the findings in the report indicate that although about 2/3 of Gen Xers work for an employer that has a retirement plan, only slightly more than half are actually participating in the plan. And only about 14% of them are covered by a defined benefit plan. There's also a large discrepancy between the average and median amount of the retirement savings, which indicates that there's a skew caused by higher earners versus everybody else. So the typical Gen X household has about 40,000 in savings, although the average would be about 243,000. And then, one of the things is that a lot of Gen Xers just across the board are failing to meet retirement savings targets. And one of the things that can help would be to shore up the Social Security Trust Fund, again, that third leg of the traditional retirement savings model. An additional item about Gen X is that they also feel that they're the least prepared for retirement. One of the reasons is that during that transition period between when during the 1980s and 90s, when they entered the workforce, and this is the time when pensions were declining and 401ks were on the ascent. But compared to millennials and Gen Z, Gen Xers have begun saving at a later retirement age. And so although the baby boomers start saving at age 35, they were also the ones that are most likely covered by pensions. So it's not as an adverse of an effect on them. And then the last item regarding longevity literacy, in that a lot of retirees underestimate how long they will live. I think most have a sense that life expectancy is about between 75 and 80, but life expectancy rises as you age. So the longer you live, the longer you live. So for example, at age 60, American man can expect to live to age 82 and a woman to age 85. So this was a study done by the CIA Institute, in that a lot of people just don't have a sense of longevity literacy. And what this means is that it can complicate retirement planning, because the biggest risk is not so much the stock market volatility in portfolios, but just people outliving their savings, especially if, for example, they don't have a pension plan, which is a lifetime benefit, versus a 401k plan, which can run out on them. So that concludes my report. Happy taking questions.
Any questions? That was very informative. Yes.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Trustee.
It's with regards to the last point, people always underestimate their longevity. Just had a meeting with somebody who had some issues. This particular individual burned through a 401k, rather the 457 in the county, and their coworker, the benefit is very limited, and this particular individual cannot afford to live in California, even though she's a member. So it's it's scary to see that. And I see a lot of seniors working. I was asking one individual the other day at my local supermarket in the 70s, why are you working? Well, Social Security is not enough. I think he told me he was getting like $1,200. How can you live in California for $1,200? It's beyond me. So something that, you know, we all need to be aware of. And it's a shame that the richest country in the world, we have that situation, but it is what it is. Thank you for your report.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Going on to item B, staff activities report for July, Ms. Smith.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Just a couple of things. We kicked off our carrier meetings the week of July 10th. Meeting first with United Health and Kaiser, where they explained or talked about the group utilization and performance over the last 9 to 12 months. And then we also, every year we request from the carriers a State of the Union meeting with them. We did request that. We've had the State of the Union meeting with Cigna, which we held on the 14th of July. And that's basically where they tell us, based off of the healthcare landscape, what's going on, what their plan is planning on doing. And so we can determine how it may impact our retirees. So we're beginning that for this year. That's it.
When are we gonna have the health fair for the retirees? I like that.
We will begin that April. We'll resume it in April of next year. It was a bit soon. We usually have it April and October. So it was a bit soon for October, but we're planning for April.
Great, thank you. Right. Any other questions, comments?
Just a good question on that. Why April, not March? Most people retired the end of March. So I thought that information will be really useful for people who are retiring if they get it, the education in February, for example.
The wellness fairs that we have is more just of an educational piece for the retirees, just to kind of remind them, you know, as opposed to going to emergency, go to urgent care, just different reminders, how to eat based off of different diagnosis they may have. So it's not more of a prep type for the people that are planning to retire. It's more the people that are already retired. So we let them know how their health plan operate, the different things that are going on at the current time. Could be diabetes. It's a hot topic. If it, you know, every other month or so, they'll have a different condition. And so that's where we educate the retirees to help lower the cost for the premiums for them as well as the county.
I will encourage you respectfully to think about that, because people who, if we have that event in February or March, a lot of the people who will be retiring in March can definitely use that information. Everything that you just said, it applies to anyone who's getting ready to retire. This is, from my perspective, it is a huge decision when you get ready to retire with regards to your healthcare and how it works and how different it is from what you have right now and compared to what you're going to have in retirement. So I will think that I will encourage you to think about that. The counseling, the staff do a tremendous job, but there's so much information, especially if you have your spouse who's not familiar with the county system, hearing about it for the first time. I would certainly encourage you to think about that and see whether or not it's something that can be done.
I have a quick question. Isn't there a retiree healthcare seminar, webinar coming up for this month? Or is that what you're talking about? That's not helpful.
No, the point I'm making is that all the education that we do here, I'm not trashing or criticizing the program that we have. I'm just saying that it will be a good idea. A lot of times, especially if you get ready to retire, that means you up in age, and sometimes you have to hear it over and over again. Because it's a huge, again, it's a huge decision that people have to make. But right.
So if I may, we do include a big section of the retiree healthcare seminar in our pre-retirement seminars. But we can look at partnering and doing specific, just focused on retiree healthcare and planning for retirement and beefing that up and offering those as well. So we'll take a look at that.
The answer is to not retire at all.
That is not the answer.
Right, I agree.
Wrong.
Die sooner.
Ooh. The goal is to become an actuarial loss.
A little brevity always helps. All right, item C, LACERA claims experience. Well, you're not Michael Zito. Good morning.
Morning. My name is Debbie Donaldson. I'm a senior vice president and actuary at Siegel, and I am filling in for Michael today. So on the first page, we're going to go over, and actually the whole presentation is going over the results for the plan year ending June 30th, 2023. On the presentation, you'll see trends. Those are year-over-year trends. And I'm also going to highlight differences that we've seen from the previous month. So on the first page, we have seen a 0.6% increase in enrollment, which represents about 339 additional retirees. In the medical plan, we did see increases in Kaiser, United Healthcare, and the local 1014 plan, and a decrease in Anthem from the prior month. Premiums for the medical plan increased 1.9% from the prior month. That's about $1 million increase in premiums. For dental vision, enrollment also increased 0.8%, about 432 members, and the premium increased 0.6% from the prior month, which is about $74,000. Let's go on to the second page. This page is really highlighting the non-Medicare experience. You can see in the top graph, we're highlighting what the trends are. And if you look at the 2023 trends on the far right, the trends are much lower than the Siegel kind of anticipated non-Medicare medical and prescription drug trends. So the highest trend that we're showing is for the Anthem plan at 0.2%. At the bottom, we're highlighting the differences in trends. So you can see from the Anthem, Cigna, and Kaiser plans, we are seeing increases. The largest increase is Kaiser at 7.2%. That is an increase from the prior month, which we reflected at 6.5%. Cigna is showing a more moderate trend of just under 1% at 0.7%. That is a decrease of 4.9% that we showed in the previous month. And similarly, Kaiser is down to 1.1. We showed 14.2% in the last month. So some of those larger claims or claim months are dropping off, and we're showing lower trends. Let's go to the next slide, please. This slide is highlighting particularly the Anthem plans. Overall at a 7.3%. I just talked about the 7.2% for the non-Medicare plans. We are highlighting the differences between the medical and prescription drug trends. So in total, that 7.3% trend represents a 7% trend in pharmacy and a 7.2% trend in medical. The largest trend that we're highlighting here is the prudent buyer plan at 21.4%. That represents an increase in the pharmacy drug spend of 28% year over year, and the medical of 17.7% year over year. We did have a decrease in the membership of 4.4% in the prudent buyer plan. And let's go to the next slide. This is highlighting Kaiser. So all the Kaiser results that we're showing are not through June 30th. We have them through April 30th. The prior report, last month's report, reflected claims through January, the end of January of 2023. So a couple of highlights on this slide real quick. We are seeing an increase of membership year over year of 2.7%. The total per retiree per month increase is about 1%, of which inpatient claims per retiree per month is 4.34%. That's a dramatic decrease from what we were reflecting last month, which was through January, which was indicating a 45.4% increase. Again, that prior report did have COVID impacts included in it. And so that's why the trends were so high. And again, those months are dropping off. So we're seeing a lower trend. Similarly, we are seeing negative trends in outpatient of negative 4.66%. In the prior report, we showed negative 0.48, so just about negative 0.5% trend. On the next slide, I'm going to go to the next slide because we're going to talk about high cost claimants. Anthem had smaller, you can see the percentage at the top is really high, but if you look at the dollar, the per retiree per month dollar amounts, it's much smaller than the rest of the plans. We are seeing decreases in claims over that pulling point. The pulling point is noted below. We are showing a negative 24% for Cigna and a negative 69.7% for Kaiser. In the Cigna plan, the current periods per retiree per month has actually decreased from the prior month. It was at 379 and now we're showing 340. And similarly, we're seeing the same thing in Kaiser, where last month we were showing per retiree per month over the pulling point of 44 compared to 27. And we're going to move on to the next slide, please, which we're showing the rebates per month. The rebates, we did have a slight increase of 1.9% of rebates as a percentage of claims, up from 0.6% from the prior report. The per retiree per month is showing 160, and in the prior report, it was at 157. And then the percent of Anthem CVS rebates to total pharmacy claims for this period has been steady that we showed this month to last month. We'll move on to the last slide, which represents dental and vision. We are seeing an increase of 2.6% in vision claims for year over year. And the prior report indicated 3.7. So that's gone down. In addition, we're showing and reflecting a 0.8% trend for vision. And in the prior report indicated 1.7. And that concludes my report.
Thank you so much. Moving on to item D, federal legislation. Mr. Murphy.
Good morning, trustees. A couple quick items included in the packet is a summary of the executive order signed by President Biden extending access to contraceptive coverage. While not necessarily a key item for a retiree group, it may have relevance to some of the early retirees that may have younger families. So again, just wanted to include that for your reference. The more important point we wanted to talk to you about is, Cassandra had mentioned our meeting with Kaiser, and we've got an upcoming meeting with them again next week. And it's specifically related to Centers of Medicare and Medicaid have made some modifications to how they're going to be reimbursing Medicare Advantage plans relative to traditional Medicare. And what they're trying to do is kind of rebalance those costs and the investments they're making in both styles of plans. What that's likely to have happen, though, is it will have it'll increase the Medicare Advantage premium rates. And what we're seeing kind of regionally is that Kaiser's Medicare Advantage rates seem to be accelerating faster than their peers. And so we're going to have a discussion with them next week to kind of determine some of the underlying factors. And we'll continue to monitor that and report back to the board as we move forward from today through the renewal activity, which surprisingly will begin for us very soon. Any other comments or questions?
All right, okay. Item 6, items for staff review.
Trustee Santos requested that we consider holding the Health and Wellness Fair in February or March to assist with the upcoming retirees. And that's it.
Thank you. And item 8, it's good of the order. It is 9 o'clock. Any comments, or can they be held until after the Board of Retirement meeting?
I got a request, Madam Chair. This is important. Mr. Lu, in the future, if you can provide the board with a report regarding the change on the law with regards to the 401k. My understanding is that starting I believe it's this year, beginning of the year, where people may not be able to contribute, do a catch-up contribution. If you're over 60, I believe, over 50, the law changed on that. That you have high-level administrators here, lawyers and doctors who may hit that threshold where these members will not be able to do catch-up contributions. So if you can provide the board perhaps next month with a report on that.
Yes, I'll look into that then.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I read that. I think that's a very good question. I've had those questions coming in, and it was unsure if it was for all 401ks or specific to self-employed 401ks. But what it did was it placed some significant restrictions on the 50+ catch-up. So if you can definitely give us that update, that would be much appreciated.
Will do.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 9, it's a motion for adjournment. So.
No, he was important.
That was
Thank
a
you.
very clear. Oh, wait a moment.
We're going to get started at 9:10 since we went a little late. Give everybody a chance to get some coffee. 9:10, we'll get started.